Hi, I'm Brittany Rizzo, and welcome to My Only Friends. Today we have Marr on the show. Matt and I met 11 years ago on a Justin Timberlake commercial. Since then, Matt has worked on shows like Modern Family, produced content for TBS, and now has an incredibly successful podcast called Reality Gaze. Matt and I had one of the realest, funniest conversations I've had in a long time. We both have the gift of gab, talking all things Justin and Brittany, grief, and our dreams of being on a sitcom together. This episode reminds me of the Friends episode, the one where Phoebe runs. Rachel's embarrassed to run with Phoebe because when she runs, she looks like a cross between Kermit the Frog and the $6 Million Man. Phoebe lets her know that she doesn't care what people think, and running should be fun like it was when she was a kid. Matt and I talk a lot about finding the fun and honoring that little kid inside of us. Matt is truly a big ball of light in this world, and this conversation had me laughing out loud and was truly exactly what I needed to pull me out of a funk. I hope it does the same for you. Please enjoy my time with Marr.
Years in the making.
Honestly, I've had this song, finally, and it's happening to me, because this has literally taken us so long to get
So
on the same
long.
page.
You look so great.
Oh my God, so do
You look so
you.
cute. Oh, I'm all like, girl, I'm wearing pajama pants still. It's a rainy day. I gotta watch
Same.
TV for
Same.
work.
Isn't that great that we both have podcasts where it just requires us to watch TV and it's amazing?
It's amazing. Like, yeah, my friend that stays with me, she's like, so what do you have to do? And I was like, I got like about 5 hours of work. She's like, oh, what do you have to do? I'm like, watch shows. Like, that's literally, I lay there and watch television and take notes, and that's my job.
Honestly, that's the best job
It's the
on the
best job
planet.
ever, right? Okay, first and foremost, how are we feeling about Justin and the new album?
Okay, I was literally gonna bring. I was like, okay, we have to talk about how we know each other, and we have to talk
Okay,
about
we need to
this.
save this for the show. Or we're recording it, but you
Yeah,
can.
we're recording. We're
Okay, you
recording.
put. How do we? I have like friends in two camps. Like some friends are like in it, and then a lot of friends are like, he gives me ick now, and I'm like, I don't know what to think.
When people ask me, I just say, in my world, I am a child of divorce between Brittany and Justin. And I'm a child of divorce when it comes to Brad and Jen. It's really hard to separate it all. But
That is such an apt description because I'm a child of divorce in real life, and I'm like,
okay.
that is exactly how I feel.
Yeah. And it's weird how we have these relationships to celebrity, but I mean, it's hard. It's hard. So, okay, so we met on a Justin Timberlake commercial.
Did in 2013?
That's insane.
That was shit. That was 11 years ago.
Oh my God. Yeah, because I got it when I was 21 and I'll be 33 in March.
Oh, your Jesus year.
What's
That's what
that mean?
my Aunt Peggy, when I turned 33, she's like, "Oh, Matthew," because I'm 44 now. And she said, "Matthew, that's your Jesus year." And I said, "My Jesus year." She's like, "Well, that's the year Jesus died for all of our sins. So you're going to do big things this year." And I went,
Oh,
"No pressure."
look, Jesus take the wheel at this point. I hope Jesus is coming to help me out this year.
33 is
Shit.
good though. Like numerology stuff, don't get me started. I listen to the Channing app. I'm all woo woo.
I'm
Like
a woo woo
numerology,
girl.
like 33 is supposed to be a powerful number. It was a great year for me.
Oh, I'm excited because 32 was good, but I've been feeling this weird shift inside where I'm like, I know something good is coming, but I feel very uncomfortable right now. And it feels
Mm.
like nothing is happening right now, but I know something's going to happen. I have this feeling. So I definitely feel that. And I don't know, this like gloomy weather is also not helping me at all.
No, I love your paint, by the way, your artwork in the back.
Thank you.
I love the like the aces. But so it's weird because a lot of people feel like they, especially now because of her book, which I
Hmm.
read narrated by the wonderful Michelle Williams, um, they feel like they know Brittany now in a more personal way. And I get that. But what other people don't realize is that we know Justin in a personal way that was
Hmm.
like really mean. Like the guy and I had a conversation about bullying and he almost started crying. Like
Mm.
we just had, so it's really hard for me to separate that, but also through past relationships, I don't trust men anymore. So
Shit. That's another podcast.
so that part.
Yeah. I think that's what I'm so sad about is I'd always be like, wow, even Justin Timberlake? Like I thought that was the one
Yeah,
guy,
like you
you know.
yes, what's that Tyra Banks thing? We
We
were
were
all
rooting for you.
yes, we were rooting for
We were
you.
rooting for you. It's hard to defend it because here's the thing. I can look at it and go, look, I am on Britney's side in the sense she got to say her piece
Mhm.
and that is her story to tell. She had
Mhm.
every right to tell it. And it made me very sad how he kind of went with it in the media and, just kind of dragged her a little bit
Mhm.
in, well, a lot of it in their
A lot of it.
20s.
Mhm. And he
But,
kind of did that with Janet too.
mhm.
Sorry, go ahead.
But my thing is like, if we are going to hold everybody accountable for their mistakes that they did at 21 and 22,
That part.
we're all fucked. That's I mean, none of us. I was an idiot when I was 21, 22. I mean, I wasn't doing stuff like that, but I'm sure I didn't make the most amazing decisions or treat people the best I could have because
But
I was a
yeah,
self-centered kid.
exactly. And
So,
what decisions would you have made if you were famous and had all this
mhm,
money and popularity and basically could do whatever you want unbridled and everyone was saying yes to you? I would have done so much. I would have done a lot of dumb shit, and a lot of
mhm.
it would have involved probably go-go dancers. It would not have been good. I'm just being honest. It would not have been good. Yeah,
Oh my
so
god.
I think that's the way I feel too. It's this idea of like everybody's it's ironic now. Everybody's doing the 20 show your picture at 21 years old. I
Nobody wants to see me at 21. I was
no.
unhinged, blacked out somewhere at Spearmint
I
Rhino.
yeah, you're like I was I was so I was so scared when I was 21. I was
Same.
just scared of life, scared to be myself, scared like newly myself. I felt like this raw amoeba out in the world trying to just find a place in it when I just had been out for like 2 years and so I
Mm,
can't I just I don't know. I just something that bond that I did talk do remember talking to Justin about is we were talking about bullying and things like that, and he talked about I said something about growing up being gay in Oklahoma, and he's like, I'm not gay. He's like, but I was always teased for being gay, and everybody
mhm,
because I was in Mickey Mouse Club and I just wanted to sing and dance, and everybody said I didn't act boy enough, or I didn't act, he said, or I didn't act white enough, or black people said I was trying to act black. He's like, I just was trying to. So I think anyway, that just kind of so that's what I think about of when I hear that story of Brittany. I think they both had no idea of who they were, and they were
mhm,
just trying to fit into what the press machine. Brittany was trying to fill in what her parents were telling her, and Justin was probably trying to just work with what his album and people were saying. You're huge right now. You're sexy, but you're all this stuff. Don't.
mhm.
So I don't. I think they both need a bit of grace.
100%. And this most recent video of him is what I think really disappointed me is,
What? I didn't see this. What happened?
oh, see, that's the thing. He said, like, right on his birthday show, right before he performed Crimea River, he said, I want to take this time to apologize to absolutely fucking nobody. And it's like,
Well, I take back everything I just said, Brittany. Damn
that's,
it.
I know, but that's the part where I'm like,
You,
Justin,
Justin.
like,
Sorry.
I just bought tickets to your concert. And like now what?
Now,
Because like
oh,
just don't say anything.
don't say anything. Oh,
It's so
oh, people
because it's like
change.
yeah, it's very disappointing
Oh,
and
people are probably were screaming at me, going, Matt, is you have sympathy for this fucking asshole who just said that? And then I take, oh, that's
I know
gross.
why did he say that? I just am like why? Why? And it's so hard
Uh,
because there's this huge part of me like Justin Timberlake was the reason I wanted to do anything. I was
mm-hmm.
7 years old and saw him on Disney Channel, and I was like, I was never like, "Oh my god," like, I never looked at the women for some reason, I just saw this guy, and I was like, "Oh my god, the way he dances, the way he sings, and, like, the Mickey Mouse Club," like,
Yeah.
all of it, I was so like, "Oh my god, this is incredible," and,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that commercial, that's I moved into this apartment when I booked that commercial. Like that commercial, I was literally I remember I think I like overdrafted in my account the day before. My sister, I was sitting at the
Yes.
Trader Joe's parking lot.
Yes.
My
Yes.
sister gave me $75 so that I'd get out of a hole, and I needed a new place to live. I was sleeping on my friend Michael's couch, and then I booked that Justin Timberlake commercial, and it literally changed my life. So there's such a soft
Yeah.
spot in my heart for him and like the joy that he has brought to my life. And then I guess we go into the conversation of like, what do we separate like the art from the artist? Like, has
Mhm.
he done something that he can't come back from? Did he do something criminal? Like, you know what I mean? So, like, how
Mhm.
much do we hold all of this against him? But at the same time, as a woman, it's really just like disappointing because you're just like,
Yeah.
why? Like, I do you treat, I know you don't treat your mom that way or your wife that way, maybe. I don't know.
No, I don't. Yeah, that makes me not want to give him my money.
Mm, it's hard. It's hard. And but then on the flip side of that, we have all these people who really care about, Britney Spears all of the sudden, but where were you guys for the past 15 years when she clearly needed help and nobody gave a
Which no
shit?
one, no one gave a shit.
And
No
all the
one gave a shit.
memes that people share and everything and making fun
Yeah.
of her. So you claim now that you care about her mental health, but you don't really care about mental health at all if you're going to Justin Timberlake's Instagram and telling him he's a piece of shit and you can't dance and you're disgusting. Like you can't, then you're really not sticking up for anything in that
Anything.
situation.
Anything. Yeah.
So it is like it makes my head spin thinking about it because it's such a nuanced conversation and there's so many like, well, if this is this and this is that, but that he goes and it's just like so back and forth. But
Mm.
it is. I
It.
feel torn. I
Mm.
feel like my mom and dad are putting me in the middle of their divorce and I want out.
I want. I just want to not deal with mom and dad's bullshit.
Let's go back. Back to the
Back to
beginning.
the beginning. Yes, yes, yes. It's wow. Sorry, I'm shook, gagged, and gooped. Everyone, shook, gagged, and I did not know.
Yeah, my
Uh.
sister sent it to me and was like, Brittany, Brittany. And I was like, what? And I didn't want to believe that it was true. And then I saw a video and I was just like, shit. Like, why? Why did you have to say that? And also, your publicist like has to be like, really, right before
Shut
an
the fuck
album?
up,
Like, just shut up.
because that's
Shut up.
that's a lot of ego that you're
Mhm.
dealing with. So, and like his new song is fine, but it's not like it's revelatory.
I mean, I gotta say, I do love it. The more I listen to it, I'm like, oh, this is a vibe.
I like it, but it sounds like Justin. You know what I mean? It's not like
Mhm.
he. At least we haven't heard the album yet, but it's not like he did like a whole new sound or something like
Right,
that. But
right.
maybe the Cosby Show was my favorite show ever, and I
Mm.
used to have a picture of Bill Cosby as a comedian in my
Oh, you're having a
living room.
rough morning right now.
Well, no, I mean, so I've already had the fall, so I'm used to just letting people just go. But not that, and honestly, I
Mhm.
shouldn't actually say that. That's a whataboutism, like or compare. Justin, I'm not comparing him to that at all.
Right.
So that, but I just, so I'm not comparing Justin. I'm saying for me though, I've already had the fall, so like I'm already used to like idols and people. But I think there's something like you said, like that's the commercial that got me into SAG and it changed my life too.
Really?
So, and so, and I know I'm actually still friends with one of the producers. Like the reason we all got into SAG is because Justin is the one who said, I want a shot at the end of everybody in the commercial because I know they won't get their SAG, they won't get paid every
Mm.
time it airs if they're not in the commercial.
Mhm.
Like they weren't going to shoot that shot of all of us together. And Justin is the one who said, do that shot and put it in the commercial.
Oh my god, I have goosebumps. That's so sweet.
So
See, like,
it's
how
this,
are you? What?
so it's this like idea of like that person didn't have to do that. So,
Right.
but and we'll sure we'll talk about this today. Like people are complex and
Mhm.
that we all, it's this idea of people think of you in one way and you have to be that one way. And I feel a little bit of that just from like the little bit of popularity from like my podcast now, where if you change something, people are like, wait, what? This? Like, and, so I remember like I had podcast listeners freaking out that I'd grown my hair long and other people like, so the fact that they're freaking out about that, and I'm not even famous, I just have,
Right.
some people that listen to my show. It's giving me a new a new just appreciation, and I guess just again I go back to the word giving people
Grace.
grace that are
Yeah.
celebrity and are popular in this, because it's just a lot that they're always hearing from people because of social media. I don't know. If I
I
get stupid
couldn't.
famous, I'm just closing it all down. I don't know.
Yeah, I've said that. I'm like, if I were to book a series regular tomorrow, I think I'd delete all my social media because I think it would truly like, I mean, for example, Taylor Swift, that girl, talk about Wonder Woman. That is Wonder
Yeah.
Woman
That
because
is Wonder Woman.
how on earth do you get to a place mentally where you can block so much out? Like you
Yes.
have, it's such a practice of mindfulness and being present and not, and focusing on what's in front of you and not what's on our phone. Cause I mean, I have a
Yes.
very hard time like putting my phone down sometimes. Like I
Same.
am so in it and I'm like, what am I even doing on here? And I'm like watching people's arguments in the comments. I'm like, Brittany, like get a life. Like it's so annoying.
It's yes, but it's where we are in stages of our artistic development or whatever. Like it's what we use to share our stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and it works in some
And
ways.
yeah.
So, but yeah, it's when yeah, it's
And then you feel like
Taylor
if you
Swift
don't
era.
have it, then you're like missing out or like, I'm not going to get a job. I'm going to miss out. They're going to look at my followers. Like, it's like there's so many. It's such a loaded thing. But I do like to believe in the Britney and Justin situation that there's more to the story that maybe we don't know. And
Yeah, and yes, and I yes, much more. And I don't think I love Brittany, and I don't think Brittany shared everything. I think we
mhm,
all tell our story from our perspective, and Brittany. It's very clear that Brittany has struggled, is struggling with
mhm,
mental illness,
mhm.
and so again, she's been going through. Yeah, we just don't know the whole story.
Yeah.
I don't think
Well,
we.
you
I don't think
know,
we ever
I love
will.
you both, mom and dad.
I'm 100% stealing that from you. I love you,
Yes.
mom and dad. Stop fighting.
I love you, mom and dad. Stop fighting. Just make a good song together and make
Like,
everybody shut up.
yeah, like just make everyone shut up.
Could
Yes.
you imagine if they came out with a song and it was just like, is all like we all just wanted the PR. Here's an amazing song. The world would heal. It's like when Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt, that picture of them at the SAG Awards, it was
Oh,
like, oh my God, my nervous system
I
just
I
wants.
appreciate you bringing that up because I'm a Jen Aniston stan, and I know
Oh,
you
you
are too.
came to the right place.
And I mean all of them because I know you're obsessed with Fritz, but like I use Courtney Cox's home line of soaps and fragrance. They're amazing.
Do you love them? I keep waiting to
There's
pull the trigger.
They're so good. Her rose fragrance in Home Court is one of the best smelling fragrances I've ever smelled in
Mhm.
my life. It
Do you
smells like
use Lola V? Because Lola V is
and yes, I'm a Lola V. Lola V is amazing.
okay. Well, I work at a hair salon and I
Okay.
will literally tell clients, like, don't get it here. Go to Lola V.
It's
Go get
great.
Lola V Detangler. It is
It's so
a
good.
life-changing
It
experience.
is. I love their oil.
Mhm.
I I use their shampoo, conditioner. It's all vegan, so you don't so anybody can use it. It doesn't it's again, it's I'm I'm so proud of them, and that's when I started to grow my hair out. I was like, "Well, okay, I'm having crisis COVID hair. I'm doing what everybody else is doing. I'm gonna grow my hair out." And I'm like, "I just want my hair to look like Jen Aniston's."
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that was the
story of
goal.
my
That was the
life.
goal. Yeah, that was the goal.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
anyway, but no, but so I still though think about Brad and Jen.
Well, yeah, and like, look, nobody's canceling Brad Pitt for how awful he treated Jennifer Aniston all those years ago.
Terrible.
So
Terrible.
it's yeah, like truly awful. Like this, and she got braided in the press. Are you kidding?
Yes.
Like,
Ugh. I
but
just need her
her
to find love. I just need her. I've been thinking about it a lot because that new, which I actually want to see with Donald Glover, and I forget the other
oh, the Mr.
actor.
and Mrs. Smith reboot.
Yeah,
Hmm.
which is where Brad had the affair with, Maleficent. And no, but um anyway, I don't know. It's a generational thing, and
Hmm.
maybe yeah, we could talk. Well, we're going to talk about the past today, but yeah, it's I just want Jen to find love. That's it.
I just read this article and I don't know how accurate it was, but it was saying that when she like meets guys to go on a date, she'll meet
Mhm.
them at like Century City Mall and she will meet them out, and if she doesn't have a good time, then she just goes shopping.
That I was just at that mall last night. I love that mall.
It's
It's where I worked at
amazing.
Sephora for years.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
the Good for Jen, I did see it was kind of we went last night to see Argyle, that movie, my friend and I, and
How is it? It kind of looks like a complete ripoff of Lost City with Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum. Like it's like the same premise.
I need to see that movie actually. It kind of is. There is so it's oh, the director is no, the guy who did The Kingsman, who was married to Guy Ritchie, who was
Okay,
married to Madonna.
Madonna.
But Guy Ritchie directed this as well. And they're actually stay for the credits because there's a Kingsman tie-in. It kind of ties into the whole Kingsman
Oh.
thing. I liked it. It was Sam Rockwell is he steals the movie. He's
Mhm.
wonderful. There's the movie kind of leans into farce, which I enjoy but I understand where some people I just think we need a little bit more, especially in these spy dramas. I'm kind of leaning into I love spy movies. I love, love, love spy movies. In this day and age, I'm all about ridiculousness and
Mhm.
foolishness
Mhm.
and I mean, this is someone who, loves stupid camp things on Drag Race or, we on our podcast we sing a song called the Girth Train Dick song. Like, just stupidness. I'm all for because I think now mom and dad are fighting and we need this.
Yes, yes, I agree.
We need the joy of it.
I'm the same way. Like I comedy is all I really ever want to watch. When something is like intense or violent or drama, it just takes too much of a toll on me. And if I'm not
Same.
laughing, like I don't want to spend a day not laughing. I just don't want to do it. The
I
darkest I
agree.
get is like Gilmore Girls. That's his most drama.
Oh, it is that season where Lorelai and Roy are fighting is dark.
Yeah.
That's a rough season.
In April, when April comes along, it's
Oh
just like
God,
just kill me.
April.
Kill April.
Ugh. Why is it that we love like I like Alexis Bledel as an actor
Mhm.
and I hate Rory Gilmore.
Well, yeah, Rory is such an idiot. She's such
I
an
don't
idiot. You could read
understand.
every book in the world and pass every test, but in the
Yeah.
streets,
In
it's
The Handmaid's
fight.
Tale, she's great. Loved
Yeah.
her in that. Like Traveling Pants, wonderful. But anyway, anyway, this is why y'all we've been taking forever to do this podcast because we're gonna talk forever.
I know, got the gift of gab because truly two people who just sit around and watch TV all day, like what else do you expect?
What else? But I think I appreciate it whenever I moved back to Oklahoma to take care of my dad who was dying of cancer in
Mm,
2020.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, thanks. In 2020, at the end of 2020, I
Mm,
moved back to Oklahoma, um, and lived there for like a little over like 16 months. And I mean, I come back to LA some, but it was just that, and then so going through that, and then my dad died in January. My long-term relationship ended in July.
mm,
So I've like 7 years and it was a bad breakup. But what through all that, it was just like, and this is what I love about your podcast and what you're talking about, because it really is, I know we're talking about Wonder Woman today, but it was literally watching old episodes of Wonder Woman, watching the movie Wonder Woman, and then just gay things. That Golden Girls and RuPaul's Drag Race was all that I could watch for like a year because it was
mm.
just the solace that and like HGTV, like people fixing other people's houses
Yeah.
where the biggest stakes were, oh no, we have termites. Let's just get rid of the termites. Like that is kind of all where everybody's like, oh, you need to watch Succession. I went, no,
No.
no, sir, sit down. No, I just this is too much for me. I can't so I think there's especially in our city where we live, but still everybody's getting caught up on the latest drama and this
Mhm.
and like even like The Bear. Everybody's like, The Bear is so amazing. And I'm like, that show, I watched the whole first season. It was good. And it made me want to like piss my pants every episode because
Yeah, it made me wanna punch a wall every time I
everyone was
watched it.
so yes. And everybody says, well, season two is so different. And I'm like, okay, I get it. But I'm still in an anxiety bubble from season one, and
Right.
that's how it affected me. So I think but for some people, they can watch true crime and all that kind of stuff, but it does not work for me.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
I don't get it either.
I saw Poor Things. Did you see Poor Things?
I have not seen it yet, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's so amazing." I'm like, "I'll watch it."
I
So I
loved
need
it.
to
I
go.
absolutely loved it. When I tell you, it gave me the weirdest dreams. Like, I will have nightmares from anything. So
Oh.
that's why I watch Friends before I go to sleep, or Gilmore Girls, because it's like if
Mhm.
I'm dreaming of Stars Hollow or, Chandler
Mhm.
Bing, that's fine.
That's
But
fine.
I mean, in Poor Things, the guy, like, he combines animals. So it's like a French bulldog with a duck tail.
How
And
adorable.
so my dreams were my dog had my head.
Oh.
And I was like, "Oh, but she looked so cute, let me tell you."
That's like a dream I take before after I have a gummy or something like
Yeah.
that. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah,
that's a
yeah.
that's
Yeah. So wait, let's go back. Let's go back to, you were watching these shows during a really hard time.
Mhm.
Was there a specific episode of one of these shows where you just had like that release that you were waiting for, like where you saw like something on Golden Girls where
Mhm.
they were really portraying what you were going through, or you really found comfort in a specific one of those episodes?
I There's a couple things that I would watch on over like, actually, what I talked about today is something I watched a lot that I've watched a lot, but that, like, really affected me, I loved as a kid, and I watch it now in a nostalgia because I remember how it helped the little kid, but, um, for me, there was a couple things I watch. I would watch literally, it's on my phone, it's on my iPad, and I still do, when I need to just kind of summon myself.
Mm.
That's the only word I can say for it. But when I need to summon myself, I just watch the scene of Gal Gadot climbing up the ladder and walking out as Wonder Woman into no man's land and like dodging the bullets.
Mhm.
Cause I cried in the theater. I cry now when I watch it. I get teary when I talk about it because it's that thing of, okay, she did that. She got up, she took off,
Mhm.
like, she walked up the step, like, I even, because I'm such a nerd, I know that, like, the way the camera spins around her in that moment when she takes off the tiara is actually Patty Jenkins' ode to Linda Carter, Wonder Woman spinning around to become Wonder Woman.
Mhm.
So it brings in that and that nostalgia, and she walks out and she deflects those bullets when everybody says she can't do it. When it's
Mm.
cold and it's muddy and it's dark, and the way that she's confident, but at the same time she has that, not scared, but maybe it's scared, but that she's never done this before. It's no man's land. It's literally
Yeah.
new territory. So I watched that a lot when on days I didn't know, like, if my dad was going to die, like
Mhm.
if I had to change another diaper, it was things like that. I would watch that, or um I watched I mean, really, like, I would watch almost any old episode of Wonder Woman, just because it was such a magical moment for me in my life. And then I think um, for Golden Girls, I would watch the episode where Blanche, it's where I forget what the main story is. I think it's either maybe that's when Dorothy thinks that she, or not thinks, when Dorothy maybe has like chronic fatigue syndrome, maybe. I forget the A story, but the B story is Blanche thinks can be a writer, and she stays up all night and she's writing, and there's this one scene where, and I think that's inspiring to me because Rue McClanahan's from my hometown.
Oh,
I've read
really?
yeah. So, like, I've read her book. It's called My First Five Husbands and the One That Got Away. I read a lot of autobiographies. I love them. And it's a great book, but what I love about her book, she literally talks about going to the places that my parents talked about and that I knew, and then
So you can like see it all. Yeah.
this mix of her being in Oklahoma and then going to Los Angeles. It's like Ron Howard's book. He talks about growing up in Oklahoma. It's like this kind of but
Mhm.
remember Clanahan, and like a lot of people don't know, like, she had a baby when she was young. She had to leave her baby with her family in Oklahoma, like going back and forth.
Oh, wow.
But I look at that and I just, like, she is, again, the stupidness of it. It's her character is really exhausted and she walks in the kitchen. She's like, I can't. I've given my all. This manuscript will live on for decades past me. And she kind of flops down on the bar, not knowing that just before that, Rose was making a meringue and needed egg whites, but didn't know what to do with the egg yolks. So she was just putting them in a plastic bag because it's Rose, and she flops down on the bar, and you see Rue McClanahan look at the bag of egg yolks, and then she goes kind of cross-eyed. She goes, "Oh my God, what am I seeing?" And she picks it up. She's like, "Rose, I'm seeing balls of sunlight glittering before me. And she just goes off in this stupid monologue. And
Yeah.
it's so funny. And it just makes me laugh so hard. So it was, I think that's the juxtaposition of when I needed something inspiring to like summon
Hmm.
myself. And then when I needed something ridiculous to just let go of it all.
Yeah.
Those are kind of those two moments that meant a lot to me in the past 2 or 3 years.
That's amazing. It's in like the Wonder Woman scene too, especially like just finding that scene, be like, okay, I need to watch it and summon myself. Like
Mhm.
I love that. I don't think anybody has really said that on this podcast of like a specific scene where they just go and watch it to like get that. And I
Yeah.
think that is what is so amazing about TV and film is that like when you see something portrayed in like a good way, you
Hmm.
can realize like you can tap into strength you didn't know you had at all because it
Yes.
can really inspire you. And I think that is incredible and I love that you do that because there are so I mean, I literally was just in therapy and I was like, I feel like I lose my power sometimes. Like I forget who I
Mm.
am in certain relationships and I lose my power. And she was like, well, who symbolize what does power look like to you? Like, does it have a color? Does it have a face? And
Oh, I love that.
I was like Lorelai Gilmore
Mm.
because no matter what she's been through, no matter how much people are screwing around with her, whether it be her parents or men or blah, 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 Suki can't fix a goddamn sink. Like she
Hmm.
handles everything with so much grace and wit
Hmm.
in this like stern way of like, you're not going to screw with me. I'll be nice to you and I will have my charming, witty, beautiful gown on, like whatever, but I am not going to just let you screw me around. So
No.
it's tapping into it's always my at work it's Rachel Green because
Yeah.
she's
Hmm.
doing a
Yep.
job
Hmm.
that she's like, I'm serving coffee. And so at work, it's Rachel Green. In my daily life, it's Lorelai. And then when shit gets really hard, I'm like, okay, Fiona Gallagher needs to come out because Fiona Gallagher would beat somebody's ass right
Oh,
now.
where's Fiona Gallagher from? What is that?
Shameless.
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 Yes. You know what? That's when I stopped watching Shameless was after she
When she
left.
left.
I
Yeah, it
haven't
wasn't
watched
the
any of that
same.
after.
It just
She
wasn't the
was
same.
that character. That is the way it was written, but the way Emmy Rossum, right?
Mm-hmm.
The way she would just something would happen and hit her, and in 30 seconds, you would see the arc of where she had to pivot to
Mm-hmm.
again to summon herself. Like again, tears in my eyes when I think about
Yeah.
what a fantastic um performance that was.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, and I feel the same with Lauren Graham. Like when she's on Gilmore Girls and when she gets this look in her face and the tears start coming up and she gets this
Oh,
that look is just like it's so inspiring as an actress to watch because you're
yeah.
like, that is the kind of work I want to do. And then they make it look effortless on top of it.
Oh, effortless. I think too, there's just I feel like that's why one of the reasons why gay men, y'all, I'm gay in case you didn't get that. But gay men and women, I think it's beautiful now what's happening because for decades, decades, maybe even centuries, gay men have looked for themselves in strong women. That's just
Mm.
in women because we don't have those models. And like I'm actually reading or I'm listening. I do a lot of audiobooks. If the author reads it, I want to hear them read it.
Hmm.
Um, but so I'm listening to Barbara Streisand's book right now, and it's
Is that like
one
a
of
10-hour book?
honey, it's 48 hours. The
Jesus
book
Christ.
the book is 900 pages long.
Stop.
And it is as an artist and as a woman, or no, I'm not a woman, but if you are a woman, but it's one of the best books I've ever
Mm,
read as an artist
mm,
because she's not talking. Yeah, she mentions them, but she's not talking about guys that hit on her and how she's dead. She's talking about how she forged her way to
mm,
be able to say what she artistically wants to do and how she was fought tooth and nail by men the whole
mhm,
way.
mhm,
She doesn't present it as this anti-men book. It's not that at all.
mhm.
But just her telling her story, you can't help but go, God, what a Wonder Woman of
Right.
this person who at a young age. And she talks about songwriting and literally the specifics of it. And film right now, she's reading Yentl. Um, and the way she talks, it's like your Jewish aunt or your Jewish grandmother's talking to you. Like So it's so well done, but I listened to her and I went, "Oh," because I liked her, but I was kind of more of a Judy and Liza Minnelli guy,
Mhm.
and now I listen to her, I'm like, "Oh, now I know why gay men love you so much."
Mm.
And like with Yentl and like the gender, like why trans people. So, but it's interesting now that I think what's happening is so many women. I mean, we experience on our show because it's me and my gay best buddy, and we're very sex positive, and we 98% of our audience are women. But also, what's happening, like this kind of obsession of women with Drag Race,
Mhm.
because I've watched Drag Race since the very first like season one, and when I was watching it, then it was pretty much just gay men and
Yeah.
lesbians watching it because it was like on fucking Logo.
Yeah.
And now where it's turned into this empowering thing for especially a lot of young women
Mhm.
to find themselves. And so I think that's interesting how as women and queer people, we don't have a lot of those.
Yeah.
We don't have those role models in real life. So that's why we turn to television and media
Yeah.
for these things.
Yeah. Who would you say? So you're a young boy, you're in Oklahoma.
Hmm.
When is the first time that you were watching TV and you were like, "Oh, that's kind of how I feel. That's me."
100% Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
100%. I remember, and y'all, I'm talking about Linda Carter's Wonder Woman, and talk about someone who's like still such a champion and like
Mhm.
walks the walk. Like she really is a wonderful human being. But no, I remember Saturday because they were reruns. This aired, Wonder Woman aired from 1970. It was three seasons. It aired from 1970 on HBO Max. It's four. I don't know why they do it. They've split it up weird. It's
Mhm.
really only three seasons, and it's was aired from 1978, 78, and 79. I was born in 79, so by the time I'm watching reruns of it. So it was
Mhm.
on Saturday nights at 6 o'clock on Channel 2. And I just remember one of my earliest memories and my favorite memories is hearing the clock ring, our grandfather clock in our living room. It would be like the afternoon, like this was in southern Oklahoma. So the sun was like coming in through the windows. There was this little bit of glare on the television. Like you could see like kind of the dust particles in the air. So it just looked kind of
Mm,
magic. And I
I know.
remember the
I know what you're
clock
talking
would,
about. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it was, brown kind of 70s looking carpet in our living room with like tan brick and all this wood everywhere. And I would remember the clock would ring 6 o'clock. It would start to ring. And I would run in our living room and I would jump in the air and spin around and I'd land on our couch. And I would did it where the TV and I would turn the TV on and I would just immediately hear ba-dum 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 bum ba-dum bum 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 bum. And it was just this, it was literally like I just became the superhero. And so that literally is one of my earliest memories because I think at the time I was maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So I used to walk around in a diaper and red galoshes. And when I had a jump rope and I would lasso my family and be like, tell the truth. It was just ingrained at me in such an early age. And it's ironic to me too that a lot of people don't know this. The guy, he's a comic book writer. His
Mhm.
name's Alan Heinberg. He's a gay man from Oklahoma, a Jewish gay man, and he is the writer of the first Wonder Woman film. He actually
Mm.
wrote the film. I saw him at a play at the Geffen like last year, and I could tell he was totally like taken aback. But he was there, and I walked up to him and I said, "You're Alan Heinberg, right?" And he's like, yeah. And actually, I was like, is this person going to kill me? And I immediately just like, I'm a
Gushed.
Wonder Woman
Yeah.
fan. I'm from Oklahoma. And it was just great. He was so taken aback and so, but it was like I was meeting a twin or something. Like we're
Yeah.
around that. He's just a little bit older than me. I think now he's the showrunner for the Sandman, which is supposed to be fantastic. So yeah, that was so. And when I look at I couldn't tell you. I remember a couple episodes, like there was Wonder Woman where she fights a gorilla, and that scared me as a kid. I remember
Yeah.
that. I remember the Wonder Girl episodes, which is specifically what I brought up to you today, because the first time I saw Wonder Girl, I went, oh, like Wonder Woman was this other kind of person on a pedestal for me.
Mhm.
It was like the North Star, but Wonder Girl, could I be Wonder Girl?
Right.
Like, could I be Wonder Woman's younger brother, younger sister? Like, could I be the? So as soon as they introduced Wonder Girl, it was just a whole different. It was almost like, wait. if I keep spinning around, because it's not in this episode, but the first time we introduce her, she kind of discovers like if she spins around, she'll change into
Uh-huh.
Wonder Girl.
Uh-huh.
And it's like when you're a little kid and you don't fully know reality, you're like, wait a minute, if I keep spinning, will I turn into that person that I want to be?
Oh, when I saw Matilda, I swear to God, I was pointing my finger nonstop. I was like, there's
Yes,
it's gonna work.
it's
One
gonna
day it's gonna fucking open this door. I
yes,
swear to God.
yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. You
So
get
I
it.
get it. Like
You
when
get
you're a
it.
kid, you're like, oh, so this will happen to me eventually, right? Like it just
Eventually,
hasn't
right?
happened. I haven't got my powers yet.
Just gonna will it.
That is amazing. And did
Yeah,
you feel like, I mean, maybe not, maybe this is a stupid question, but
not at all.
did you feel like with Wonder Woman, like you said that you didn't come out until you were what, 19, 20?
19, 19.
19. So did you
Mhm.
feel like her in the sense where there was like a part of your life that you had to kind of quiet down a little bit and then you got to also be this other person?
100%. Like, because I didn't know I was gay, but I knew I was othered. I knew I was
Mm,
very different, and luckily my family, and they still are, were very. I mean, they had their. This was Oklahoma in the '80s, so they had their transition in early 2000s when I did come out, but it wasn't. There was what do I say transition like immediate. I told them my dad, my mom. When I told them all I'm gay, they said, "Okay, well, I love you. I don't know how to deal with this, but I love you, and you're my
mhm,
son." So immediately I had that acceptance, and I always felt that.
mhm.
And I grew up. I've talked about this with my therapist before. I mean, I got my master's in psychology, so I've written papers about it.
Did you really? I did not know
I
that.
did. Yeah, I thought I was gonna I thought it was kind of right before 2013, Justin. I kind of thought I was going to go into therapy and that's the way I was going to help people.
Mhm,
And because kind of my two obsessions in life have always been Wonder Woman and Oprah.
mhm,
And I thought I was going to do that. And then when I was finishing my grad degree, and you still have to get all these like thousands and thousands of hours for free and work for free. And someone said, you have a good face for commercials. You should meet my friend who helps people find a commercial agent. And so I did. And then I got a commercial agent. And then I started booking nationals. And that's like, I think Justin was my third national that I booked like
amazing.
in like 10 months.
Mhm,
So literally, it was the one that, yeah, got me into SAG. And so that course corrected my life, and then I went into acting again and then podcasting. But yes, with Wonder Woman, I knew I was othered, I knew I was different, but I grew up with my family. It was my mom, my dad, and my brother, and my childhood was very they were loving. They were even my dad, who was like a good Oklahoma boy and was trying to get me to play sports, and I
mhm,
wasn't great at them. Even then, though, I knew that my dad was doing that and being like, and not being crazy hard on me, but being like hard on me, like, Matt, you got to practice. And I knew, I don't know, I think I'm an older soul, so maybe that's it. But I knew even young, I was like, I don't want to do this, but my dad's doing this with me because he loves me. So I felt
mm,
loved. And I
mhm,
had this like love bubble. And then I went off to like kindergarten. And then that's where I was started to like people were going, you talk like a girl. You're a
mm,
sissy. That's so it's suddenly it was this parallel. Especially if you watch the Wonder Woman movie or if you watch the first episode of Wonder Woman, Cloris Leachman actually plays her mom in that first episode
oh,
in the
wow.
pilot. Yeah. Which the woman who played it in this actually she grew up to be in Adam's Family. She played Morticia Adams in the television show
I
Adam's
mean, there's
Family.
a lot of people who worked on the show.
Yeah, there's a lot of famous people. Yeah, but
The episode that you told me to watch, the Wonder Woman Goes to Hollywood, the dad from Homeward Bound is in it, then Deborah
oh yeah,
Winger,
Deborah
and then
Winger.
I was like, "Wait, is that Deborah Winger?" Because I had just watched Terms of Endearment for
I've
the
never
first
seen it.
time. I only saw it because a guest, Mark Blutman, he's a writer for Boy Meets World and Girl Meets World, he came on the podcast and he talked about Terms of Endearment. So it was like the first time I had ever seen
Oh
it.
wow,
And then I was like, "Wait." And then they were trying to say she's 15. I was like, "Girl, come on."
girl, come on, come
They're
on.
like, "Oh, she has pigtails. She must be 15."
That's the thing. Yeah, there's a lot of famous people. They had I think I understood this on a subconscious level what it was like Wonder Woman leaves Paradise Island to go into
Mm,
man's world.
mm.
So she has to go where she feels accepted, everyone supports her, they love her. They're like you're a strong woman. That's incredible. That's wonderful. And then she has to go into 1940s world
Mm-hmm.
and you live in the US where women are treated very differently. And she has
Mm-hmm.
to literally put on glasses and hide her powers. And I literally felt like I was going into no man's land where I had to hide who I was and hide my powers
Mm-hmm.
that were celebrated in my home.
Yeah.
So it was this kind of beautiful. And again, Wonder Woman is all about truth. Her
Yeah.
weapon is a lasso of truth. And so it's like this idea of where I think that's why truth is so important to me and authenticity,
Mm-hmm.
because to me, nothing is more sacred than the truth of who
Agreed.
you are.
Agreed.
And so it just, and I think that's why Wonder Woman resonates so much with queer people, because we know what that's like to have this secret persona.
Mm-hmm.
So that just, that resonated for me at a very early age. And even in this episode, like, and if I'm jumping ahead, you can stop me. But
No,
even
you're
in this
fine.
episode, like I remember, because I watched them so many times, I remember I watched it younger, but then like when I was like 8 or 9, watching this specific episode, because this episode was a lot of things I loved. I knew from like 5 years old I wanted to be an actor and I wanted to live in California and I wanted to live in Hollywood. So
Mm-hmm.
like you're seeing
Seeing
like
old Hollywood and like what the lots looked like back then was so amazing.
it was amazing. And things like silly things like when I saw that like they pick up a rock and a rock's a fake rock. I loved that. Like I love that I'm seeing the magic. So I'm seeing that, and then I'm seeing Wonder Woman, and then I'm seeing Wonder Girl, but then also the character that kind of is the Wonder Girl's like love interest, the guy, I think Corporal Ames is his
Yeah,
character.
James.
James. Is he the guy from Homeward Bound?
Yeah, he's the dad from Homeward
Oh,
Bound.
I've never seen Homeward
Oh my
Bound.
god, don't watch it. You'll cry your eyes
I
out.
can't watch dog movies right now.
No,
No,
don't.
no, no, can't.
Don't do it.
Um, so seeing his character where he literally is like, everybody thinks I'm something and I'm not.
Mhm.
And it's about truth. And it's about,
Mhm.
like, when I watched this when I was like 8 or 9, I cried at that scene where he talks to her in the diner because
Yeah.
I related to that so much. And I thought, wow, he was able to tell Wonder Girl this, even at a young
Mhm.
age. And I haven't watched that though. I knew this episode, but I haven't watched this episode in like 5 years.
It was
Just
the
because
first
I
I'd
watch,
never
yeah.
seen Wonder Woman before.
Oh, really? It's so different too in the 70s because this was the last episode of that they originally the first season. It was on, I think, ABC or it was on CBS. I can't remember which one. It was all in the 1940s. Then they canceled it and then they rebooted it, and that's why it's the second season and the third season are called the quote New Adventures of Wonder. And they
Mm.
moved her to Los Angeles and they put it all in the 1970s in modern time. And they took away like the glasses of Wonder Woman. Like Steve Trevor was there. It's Steve Trevor's son, but it's really Wonder. It's much more about which, in a way, I picked this episode because of Wonder Girl, but in the 70s, those really probably are my favorite Wonder Woman episodes just because
Mhm.
that's where you see Wonder Woman being more of her authentic self. And
Mhm.
she's not hiding behind glasses. And also, she's wearing the fabulous 70s clothes and the hair. And
Yeah, she's
she has the big
stunning.
sun. That's kind of where I think people relate to Linda Carter now. And
Mhm.
there's some great moments of television in that as well. But this was the last episode in the 1940s.
It's so funny because I was like, tale as old as time. Like the most beautiful girl in the world and her makeover is just taking her glasses off. Like when did
Yep.
that become a thing? Like, oh my
Superman,
god,
really. It
it's
was Superman, yeah.
that's true. Like even in Barbie when he was like he took off her glasses. I was like, now I can see you. Now you're beautiful.
Now you're beautiful. Yeah, it's like in the Wonder Woman movie. I love that she has these glasses at first, but like they're fighting and they fall off and they break. And she's like, well, yeah, those aren't going to work. I'm not going to wear glasses anymore. And
Yeah.
so I kind of love that they kind of literally, it's that their way of saying, like, yeah, this is dumb.
And I did love that, like, for a show that is in the 70s, it was still very based around powerful women. And like the women were the subject, where I just feel like there wasn't a lot of that, like in that time period.
True, very true. And even the 70s, even more, just because it's Diana kind of being her true self. But I think the 40s does do a good job. The 40s, what I liked about the first season, there's more comedy in it. Like
Hmm.
there's like the scene with Drusilla and Queen Hippolyta, her mom.
Yeah.
Like there's some kind of tongue in cheek, like Cloris Meechin, it's full on camp. So
Hmm.
there's a bit of an Etta Candy. You see her very little in this, but I forget the actor. She's in Sabrina or was in that the series that Sabrina was in the movie. But yeah, it's anyway, I love that there's comedy though just in the first season more, but you're right. They do a good job though of talking about what in the first season, there's kind of more of Wonder Woman Diana rolling her eyes because she's like, I'm in 1940s
Mhm.
and I have to do this because men are dumb and they're not going to get it if I'm this power and achieved. So there's a bit of that which I related to as well as like, I got to play this game because these people around me aren't strong enough to deal with it, and I get the complexity of it, and they don't.
Right, right. Now, when you first moved to LA, did you feel like how it was when you were in Oklahoma? Like, oh, there's a lot of people out here who are just like me and I can be accepted here.
I sucked a lot of dick. Let's be real. Like, I'm gonna be honest. Like that was like
The way I was not expecting that, but I'm dead. That was honestly work.
I mean, it was though. I did feel that it was suddenly I moved to Los Angeles and no one gave a shit. Because even when I was actually outed and in
Oh
college,
no.
it went to like a summer festival. I told someone I was gay. Their roommate, who was a gay guy, told everybody. It was like we were at this hotel, so it wasn't hard for it to spread around. But and I went to school in music at North Texas, the University of North Texas, and in just north of Dallas. But even in like in the late '90s, I went to college from '97 to 2002. It's still, even though this was a huge, like one of the largest music schools in the world, so a huge music school, a lot of famous musicians have gone there. Even with that, it was still Texas. So I
Mhm.
was one of the few people that was out. A lot of people weren't, or they had been out and come back in for religious reasons. A
Yeah.
lot of Latinx people, because it was Texas. That had, like, I remember this one. He was like a full on drag queen and like doing drag shows, and then found Jesus again and went back in the closet. Now
Oh,
he's out again and doing well and singing opera all over the world. But that was just kind of the
right.
temperature of where I was. So, and even like I luckily still have some great friends to this day who are like, "Hey, we're going to take you out in Dallas. You're going to go to some gay clubs." And thank God for that. Thank God for that. But still, if it was like a special event, like they didn't mean it this way. They were, but it felt like, ooh, we're taking the gay guy out. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Which was
Mhm.
at the time felt really good, but
Mhm.
and it still feels really good in a lot of ways. But then in LA, people are like, we're not taking the gay guy out. We're just going to go out to West Hollywood because that's just what people do.
Right.
It wasn't a thing, and so that I did have this moment of like, I remember it was like back in the day, there was no apps or anything. It was like gay.com. It was like a Yahoo gay chat room or
Like that's
Craigslist. It was like that's where you met people. Were like through Craigslist, like literally you wrote a
yeah.
personal ad. That's how I met
Wow.
my ex of like 8 years. And I remember the first time like I met up with a guy, and I was so naive. I thought we were going on a date. I'd never like hooked up with somebody. Like I'd had a kind of quasi boyfriend in
He
college,
just
but
like you get there and he sets up a tarp and you're like, "What's going on?"
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was like so like the country mouse in Los Angeles. And I remember it was this guy, he was like 10 years older than me. I mean, he rocked my clock. I didn't know what I was doing. And but afterwards, because I thought we were going on a date. And like and I'm so dumb. He was like, "Hey," I was like, because I thought we're gonna go to lunch, we're gonna go to dinner, and he was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." He's like, "If you want to just stop by my place first, that's cool." And I was like, oh, "Okay." And I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna stop by, pick him up. Like, is there gonna be flowers?" Like, literally, this is what's all is
Yeah.
playing in my head, like romantic comedy. And then we
Yeah.
get there, and it is like, "Hey, do you want to have a beer?" And then we made out and had sex. And I was like, is someone going to find out about this? Because I grew up in such a small
Mm.
town. I was like, is someone going to know about this? And then I got home and I didn't tell my roommate at the time, which she wouldn't have cared. She grew up in like fucking Sacramento and went to
Right.
school in North. Like she would not care at all.
Right.
But, and we're still really good friends to this day. And, but I remember sitting in my room going, oh, wait, no one I can just live my life and no one
Yeah.
is going to judge me for it. And it was like coming back to Paradise Island.
Mm.
That's why I think for me, Southern California and Los Angeles is just, it is the city of angels for me. And it is
Mhm.
I love living here and I will always love it. And maybe I'll live other places, but I really see myself here forever.
Yeah, I agree. There's no place like it. And I
No.
honestly, you do, I mean, even just myself, like I'm, being here, I feel like I'm a part of something. I don't feel othered. I don't feel
Yeah.
like I have so my friendship groups here are so strong and the relationships I have because we're all so like-minded. Where when I go back home, I don't have that anymore. Like
Yeah.
and that's a lot of people who got married and they went to college, got married, had kids, everything, which is
Mhm.
great if that's what they want to do, but that was just never me. And being out here with a bunch of friends who are my age, who are single and pursuing their careers and doing what they just feel free to do, it's
Mhm.
so nice. And you don't think like, oh, I have to have it all figured out. When I go to Las Vegas and I go home, I'm like, oh my God, I don't have anything figured out. Like I
Yeah.
start comparing and I'm like, wait, no. Cause then I come back here and I'm like, I'm just like everybody else. It's
You're
great.
just yes, you're just a it's a city of dreamers and creatives.
Mm-hmm.
And, you could be at a party and you could say, "What do you do?" And someone I often ask, I don't ask people what they do. I often ask them, I'm like, "What do you," or I'll either say, "What do you love to do for fun?" Or I'll say, "What are you passionate about? What
Mm-hmm.
what what is really like gives you great energy in your life?" And then that's often when you find out about somebody's side hustle instead of
Mm-hmm.
like, yes, they work as a dental hygienist, but what they love doing is like going to an old farms and collecting horsehair that fell on the ground and then washing it and making like beanie hats out of it.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
but it could be so extreme and
Uh-huh.
it's LA. And if I somebody told me that, I would go, that's awesome.
Yeah, where do I
Like
buy it?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. Give me your Insta.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
that is such and so I think LA is just such an accepting city in that way.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, how much time do you have left, by the way?
I'm fine.
Okay. Just
I
tell
got
me
all
when
the
you have to
time.
go.
I
Um,
don't yeah, I'm fine.
music, you studied music,
Mhm.
psychology,
Mhm.
acting, podcast. What would you say is your passion? Which would you say is like, this is where I get my spark?
It's interesting that you say that and then something that I've been working on now because I've been working a lot with my own therapist and like with my breakup and all. I've been working a lot on codependency. If anybody listens to my podcast, they're like, "Here he's talking about codependency again." But I've been working a lot on that. But also kind of rediscovering childhood dreams. So it's interesting. You listed all
Mm.
those things, and it made me sad that you didn't say acting because I haven't really
No, I said
fully.
acting.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Then
yeah,
that's my shit. I didn't
yeah.
hear
Yeah,
it.
I said acting.
So I feel like acting is becoming, but it's funny. I didn't, I wasn't upset at you. I just went, oh, I'm not, I heard I'm not really acting enough like I want to be.
Mm.
And so I just bring that up to be transparent. Like we
Yeah.
hear what we want to hear,
Yeah.
and filter it. So because but I love podcasting and it's connecting in stories. That
Mhm.
really is my passion. And it kind of that is the umbrella for all of those things. I love hearing someone else's story and it
Mhm.
making me feel less alone in my own story. And
Yeah.
which is not novel. A lot of people have said that.
Mhm.
But because of what I grew up with, and it's hopeful stories. Like I'm not a sad crier. Like I can watch Sophie's Choice. I'm not gonna cry. Schindler's List. Like I'm gonna get emotional. I'll be like, oh, that's horrible and depressing and gut punch. But like I won't cry. But if I watch a movie or I watch something where someone tries to do something and then they
Mm.
succeed at it,
Mhm.
it's waterworks. It's
Yeah.
waterworks for me because that's so I'm that hopeful, I guess, type of crier. So to answer your question though, I think from now it is stories and podcasting is this weird thing where it's the first time in my life where something started just as this creative dream and now it's literally my full-time job.
I was gonna ask you, how did you get started in podcasting?
It was I wanted to it was this idea of I started doing an advice podcast called Dear Maddie.
Mhm.
And I just went, I want to just screw this. I'm having to audition. I'm having to like go through all these. I had a friend, we were pitching shows at the time, and it was, I have to go through all these filters of yes and one no will just take me out of the game and shut the door on an opportunity. I
Mhm.
just want to create something by myself that I have full creative control on and just do something for fun. And that's really where I started following fun in my life.
Mm.
And so I just said, I'm fuck it. I've always wanted to have a talk show. I'm going to do a talk show in my living room. and I'm just going to do it with people, and we're going to answer advice questions. I'll get to know about them, and I created a format, and I thought it's a pretty decent show, but and it did fine for a podcast, but it wasn't like anything I was making fun money from or anything like that. And then at the same time, so I that was in 20. You know what? That was right after Justin. So I think because we did that in February and March, and then I had a producing partner at the time. We had like a bad kind of bad friend breakup,
Mm.
and then in April, and then in July is when I started my first episode of Dear Maddie in 2013. And
Wow, you were
so
like ahead of the game in podcasting.
it was very early. Yeah. I like went to a conference and everything. So,
Wow.
um, I did, or did I do it 24? No. So, I did that, and then at the same time, my buddy, so a guy that I'd gone to school with, my podcast partner Jake, we knew each other, and so the girl that I originally moved out, the one who was from Sacramento, we were roommates, and then we moved into a house, and my friend Jake moved in with us, and we were all roommates for like 7 years at a house in like Koreatown, Hancock Park adjacent. And he and I basically we had a friend who because he's a musician, a very good musician, a pianist and all that. But she said, I love it when you play the piano and you both just sing and
Mm.
just sing a song. She said, for my birthday, can you sing a song, just like 3 songs for my birthday? Because she knew we were all broke. And but you tell that to 2 gay men, and 6 months later, they put on a full cabaret show in their living room called Cabaret and invite 40 people over.
Yeah.
And so we did Cabaret, and it was so fun. And people were like, we need another one. We did another one the next year. We had 80 people in our living room of
Wow.
this house with a shirtless bartender. And then the next year we did it in a theater, and we started raising money for, at the time, the Trevor Project, which was
Mhm.
a suicide helpline for LGBT. I volunteered for that at the time. And then we raised stuff for Brave Trails, the camp I started. We just raised every year. We would literally say, come to Cabaret or you don't love gay kids. Like that's what we would just kind of say. Like, you don't love queer kids if you don't come to our show and give money. And so
Amazing.
we did it like once a year because it was a lot of work. And it was just a reverent kind of Carol Burnett, who's another icon, kind of
Mhm.
was a guiding model for me at a very young age. And then when we were doing podcasting, I was doing Dear Maddie, and we're like, how do we take this idea of cabaret and turn it into a podcast? And so we just started talking about television shows, and we did a lot of fictionalized shows, and then we were throwing things against the wall. We podcasted for 4.5 years before anything really ever hit.
Wow.
And then we started talking about Southern Charm on Bravo, and that started doing well. But then one of our listeners at the time, a fan from the Dear Maddie show, who this woman named Jackie, she said, what about 90 Day Fiance? Y'all should watch that show. I think you would like it. And we watched it and we're immediately hooked because with 90 Day Fiance, first of all, we didn't know it was one of the most popular shows on cable, period. It's a huge show. But also, whenever we're looking for love or we're dating, is when where I feel like when we're our best or our worst self. Right?
Mhm.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
so that's what kind of led us in a 90 Day Fiance. Within like 3 months, we were like, had 100,000 downloads like crazy and just blew up.
Amazing.
And it just, now we're planning our third tour right now across the country and then for live shows, and it's a dream. It's a passion, but now it's like my job. So
Right.
it's this train that's going. So I think when you going back to that question, I'm in this state of rediscovering artists. Like, it really
Mhm.
was ironic that I'm talking to you about this. When Matthew Perry died, it was this reminder to me that how much Friends, Will and Grace, for me, I'm a little older, but like Cheers,
Oh, I love Cheers.
um,
Every episode.
Just Shoot Me, all these
Mm.
shows meant some. But what I loved watching almost more than the show is I love watching the bloopers.
Oh, I could quote the bloopers of
You
Friends.
can
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And it's this idea of I want to be on a sitcom
So
or a
bad.
comedy show where I have this community of people where we're just making each other laugh
Mhm.
and we develop this camaraderie and friendships. And so that literally this year is like a dream that is being reawakened for me. And that happened really all because of twofolds. I think the Friends reunion that was so well done, and then with
Mm-hmm.
Matthew Perry's death and watching a lot of that, it just reawakened that within me.
I got goosebumps. Yeah, it's. I mean, I
You
get
get
it. A
it.
sitcom
Get it.
is my absolute dream, and I have made. I love Friends so much that I feel like I have truly made my actual life look like Friends. I mean,
Hmm.
you can my door,
Oh,
like
oh, yeah.
like it's my apartment's purple and like
Hmm.
my friend just moved literally walking distance and like we're like, oh, we're on our way with a pizza, and it's like I love stuff like that. I'm like, don't
Yes.
be surprised when I come walking in your door and bringing you guys coffee. Like I want
That's
people.
literally my neighbor in my building. I'm
Yeah,
friends with like three people in my neighbor, and we just all we
yeah,
like
open
literally
door, come on in.
they came over to them, and we're sitting there having coffee. And I was like, "Hey guys, I gotta go. I gotta go do this podcast thing." And they just hung out in my apartment for
I
like
love
two
it.
hours and just sit and talked, and then just left and shut the door.
I love it. That's
Yeah,
all I want. I had surgery on my foot, and so I was like holed up on my couch, but it was like at one point it's like, "Oh, Roxy came over. Oh, she left. Courtney's here. Oh, she left. Oh,
I
they're all
love
here
it.
now. Like, oh, here's some soup." Like I just absolutely love that homey feel, and it's almost I tend to romanticize life a lot in order to get out of my depression, and kind of I'm
Hmm.
like I have to pretend I'm just on a show right now sometimes
Hmm.
to in order to not feel like, oh God, this is like so mundane and like, oh, I'm bored.
Hmm.
And when I'm sitting around talking with my friends, I'm like, oh, this is like an episode of Friends and it makes me so happy. Like,
You're living. You're in the fantasy is real in a
yeah.
way.
And and especially the bloopers and like, especially, when, when Matthew Perry passed away, it was like, I kept thinking about the cast and like how
Yeah.
hard, like I kept thinking about Jennifer Aniston and I was just like, she's got to be like, if I'm devastated, if this distraught over this, like I can't imagine how she feels. And to have those bonds and go through something that special together is such a
Mm,
gift.
yeah.
And I mean, we would all be so lucky to experience that
Yeah,
kind of
and she
job.
just lost her dad not that long before
Mhm,
too. So I thought about that just from losing my dad, and
mhm,
um there's yeah, there's just that's a lot already. It's grief upon grief.
mhm.
And yeah, for all of them that had to be such a shocking blow. But I'm already to a point though where I can watch a Friends episode now. I'll have moments like a ping of sadness here and there, but then much more gratitude for and which inspires me more to want to be on a show or be do something that what a legacy that you
Yeah.
leave people with laughter.
Mhm.
And because they're all going to be we're all going to be gone. And so
Right.
what is, left in that. So I love it that you can I think that there's yes, we want to be realistic, but I think we have to be able sometimes it's conceived as seen as negative, but sometimes in a way, disassociation we learn to disassociate when we're younger because it protects us in that moment.
Mhm.
And so it's this way of how can you healthily do that? Because I remember, and I still do it now, if I'm in a situation where I feel scared or when I was younger, when I felt and I really wasn't bullied a lot, luckily. I had like my high school experience was great. It was just middle school and elementary. I just was so effeminate and gave that those were harder for me. But by high school, I'd find my footing. I was pretty popular, so kind of things ended on a positive note for me. And that
Right.
I think if high school had been bad, things could have been a lot different for me. But still, when I was younger, like again, something with one, I love that when, and this was Linda Carter when they originally, they're like, how do you turn into Wonder Woman? And she had dance training. She's like, well, I can just do a pirouette and turn into her. And then originally in the pilot, they wanted it to be because it was men. They wanted to be. It was actually like in slow motion, and it almost looked like she was disrobing, and then clothes were coming back on as Wonder Woman. It was a
Mm.
little kind of sexy, and
Mhm.
guys, of course, studio heads were like, she's beautiful. We need to show up this beautiful
Right.
girl. But those that they had to film it every time and it took too long. And so they said, let's just have her spin around and have this pink kind of golden light envelop her in a
Mhm.
bubble. Almost it reminds me of like Glinda the Good Witch when she
Right.
came down from Oz. We'll do that and we'll just transition. So whenever I don't know if I've ever told anybody this, whenever I was a young kid and I felt unsafe, I would just imagine this pink light just enveloping me like Wonder Woman and that she was spinning around protecting me. And it's still something to this day when I'm in those situations. It's like that's my disassociation where I can feel safe and protected in that moment and know that I'm going to be okay energetically.
I love that so much. And I will tell you, my therapist and I literally, she will say, like, how do you not absorb other people's emotions? Like, imagine a protective bubble around you. What color is it? Like, what does it, can you see through it? Is it foggy?
Yeah.
Can people put their hand in it or can they not?
I
And
love your
so
therapist.
she's great. She's great. God, she gets so frustrated with me, but she's great. But
The best
she,
ones do.
yeah, right. But yeah, so the fact that you say that, like that's really truly something that is a tool that can help you.
Hmm.
And
For
I
sure.
I absolutely love that. And I think that'll help a lot of people too. Like it's not, when you're a kid up until we're all big kids. I always say that. Like
For
up until
100%.
now. Like always when you feel unsafe, like you can still put that protective bubble around you and like the power
Hmm.
of your imagination and like make believe. And it's so interesting how much our careers are also like so psychological and how they tie together. So I could
Yeah.
imagine like you going to school for that and also pursuing acting and being an actor. I could imagine it's helpful.
It was how, even when I was getting my master's, the guy that created Wonder Woman was a psychologist. A lot of
Wow.
people, he was a he invented the lie detector test. So literally he invented the truth machine.
Wow.
There's a movie about his life. It's a terrible movie. It's totally not done. It's like it because he was in a like a not a they try to say he was in a polyamorous relationship. He wasn't. It was actually two he lived in, I guess it was poly. He was with two women and the two women lived together and had separate kids and raised the kids together in this kind of feminine culture. That's
Mhm.
a whole other podcast and a whole but the film kind of fictionalized it that the two women were lovers. They weren't, not that there's anything wrong with that, but there was this true sisterhood that they had.
Mm.
But it was, I get it. I don't know. The film was directed by maybe a lesbian director, so maybe that was her fantasy. I don't know. But yeah, he was so that I thought about that a lot when I was going to be a psychologist. Like, wow, this idea of like even then, like coming back to Wonder Woman and this guy who created her. Now, granted, she didn't have a lasso of truth; it was originally a whip. So, because he was also into S&M,
Oh
but
my god.
so there's a lot of
Who
if
knew
you
Wonder Woman was so layered?
there's actually a book about psychology and what, yeah, it's a fascinating story the way it was developed. But anyway, but no, it's been like truthfully, Wonder Woman has been a guiding force in everything I've done in my life.
I love that. That's amazing. I mean, it truly like this is exactly what the podcast is meant to be. Like is this
Yeah.
conversation.
Hmm.
Like so I really it's because I know I'm not the only one and when you hear what somebody else like goes to in their hard times or what they channel in their hard times or things that help you find your power like it's TV and film and I
TV
just
film. And we talk about it because we live in LA and maybe people in New York that were, but I think it affects everyone.
mhm
And like I haven't watched it, but like the success of Yellowstone. Yellowstone is huge where I'm from in Oklahoma.
mm,
And everybody watches it. And I think everybody watches it because we're from this land, the country. A lot of people live in the country and they want to tell themselves if the extreme circumstances happen to me like that in my homestead, could I protect myself? Could I protect
right.
my family? So I think we talk about it more on West Coast, East Coast, but I agree with you. I think for anybody listening that you live in Nebraska or Rhode Island or wherever, I think we all have those moments through media where we see ourselves.
Mhm. Mhm. Now, before you go, I want to ask you,
Yes.
what is the best piece of advice you've gotten for either your career, your mental health, or what is like a mantra that you carry with you every day that you would share with somebody else?
Two things that have been by people that I really love. One is RuPaul talks about that this is all drag. It's all drag. None of it's real.
Mhm.
None of this is real. The way we fix our hair, the clothes we wear, the makeup we wear, the roles we play, it's not who we are. None of it is who we are. A podcaster is not who I am. It's all drag. It's all just, it all is like we're all paper dolls putting on different dolls. And when you realize that everyone else is just trying on paper dolls as well around you and trying to figure that out, you take it less seriously.
Mhm.
Like it's and so that really helped me, and that was a long time ago we said that. And then also I'm a big I've talked about this a lot, so people that listen to my podcast, it's not new to them. But I love Ina Garten. She's the Barefoot Contessa. She's like a
Mhm.
cook on Food Network that was popular. And she's super inspiring. I've read a lot of her interviews because she didn't get her start until she was 41, 42 years old. She literally was a nuclear energy policy analyst for the Carter administration
Wow.
and was like, I hate this. I don't want to do this. And her husband, who ran like the New York NYU business school, said, find something that's fun and do it.
Mm.
And so she did that and said, I think I want to own a specialty food store. And then she wrote her first cookbook when she was 50. And she had her first Food Network show when she was 55, whatever. And now it was later in life for like myself, because I didn't really find success until I was 42, 43, 42. And but what I started doing that's when I started the Dear Maddie show back, is I have said it before, follow the fun. Like,
Mm.
stop trying to do things to make money. Stop trying to do things that are going to make your parents happy. Stop trying to do things that are going to impress anyone, because what other people think of you is none of your business. Like, let that go. But just follow the fun, what is fun for you. And I promise you, your life will be more fulfilled immediately. And you probably will find a way to make some type of living from that.
I love that, and I can't tell you how bad I needed to hear that right now. Like,
Oh,
truly. Truly, that was my whole conversation last night and this morning with one of my closest friends. I'm like, I am gonna be 33 years old and I don't have that. I don't. And it's like, oh my God, Brittany, stop.
stop.
Stop. Just stop. Because it's
Stop.
hard. And I talk a lot about like manifesting and the power of like
Yeah.
your beliefs and like your thoughts become real.
Mhm.
And then I get into these little slumps where all that goes out the window and I spiral and it gets dark and twisty up in there. And so you're right though. It's
Yeah.
like if you just follow the fun and like and you also have to live on that vibration and frequency for the fun to find you. Because if you're down here and you're miserable and sad and thinking, why, and nothing's going right for me, you're just going to attract more stuff that's never going to go right.
Yeah. I had a business partner at the time, and he really wanted to make feature films and do it. And I was helping him, thinking it was almost like if you do the artist way, it was like a shadow career. It
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, I'll do that, because that's reputable, and I want to be in the film business. I hated it,
Yeah.
and I look back, and thankfully, I only did that for like 3 years with him. But still, that was 3 years where I worked really, really hard
Mm-hmm.
on something that wasn't fun. And some people do that for 20 years.
Yeah, that part. I don't ever want to do that. That's for sure.
No. So if you're working on something that's fun now, and yeah, maybe you're having to work a side job or this job or day job and do this, but at least, I mean, literally, it's cliche, but I think with after my dad passing, it really, when you have that was the first time I'd really experienced grief and like someone close to me. I mean, I had grandparents pass away, but someone in my life had died.
Right.
And not to be morbid, but like, seeing an actual person die, like
Yeah.
it's a whole mind fuck. And like you get Harry Potter, why they can see the certain horse, like in the Harry Potter world, how anyway, that's a whole other tangent. But it's you just recognize like, oh, tomorrow is not promised at all. It really is not. So it's that idea, and I don't mean that in a depressing way. I mean that in, we all have to deal with that. So why not have fun today?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you put your head on your pillow that night and you go and you have gratitude for a fun day, and that's the last thing you remember, what a blessing.
Yeah.
What a blessing of life to have it in that moment. And so that's just why I think following the fun is just, I don't think there's anything more important.
Well, that was perfectly said. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It was so amazing. I mean, truly, because who wants to go to bed being like, oh fuck, I hate everybody. And then
Oh,
and you're
think
like,
it's
oh
time work.
wait, it's my last night here. What am I doing?
Yes. Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
it's
And
not
yes,
worth it.
I'm white, I'm male, I have privilege, there's things that other people but I know, have you ever read that book, Viktor Frankl's Man's Search of Meaning? Yeah, I'm fucking up the title, but he's a Holocaustist. He was talks about like he was
Mm,
in a and in that he could still find gratitude and happiness. And
oof,
so I'm
yeah.
kind of like, if that person can do it,
Right,
then we all can do it.
right,
We all
right.
can do it. No matter where you come from, we can all find the gratitude and fun in our day.
Yeah, and also, like, fear and anxiety cannot exist if you're living in gratitude. Like,
It
it's
can't.
literally impossible.
Literally impossible.
Well, I love you to pieces.
I love you to
I'm
pieces.
like, this was so long overdue. It's even
Let's
long
not wait
overdue.
13 years or 10
I
years. Yeah.
know. Like, we've kept in touch on social media and stuff, but I have not actually seen you since that red carpet. And I'm like, okay, I need more of
Let's
you in my life.
let's change this. I would love
Yes.
that. I know
Yes.
we still talk to some. We should get well, whatever. It'd be fun to have a reunion, but also would love just to see. I got a little selfish. It's like it'd also be fun just to see you.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing this and coming on
Of
and all
course.
your words and your vulnerability and your honesty and the thoughtfulness that you put into this because it really, I mean, this time flew by. It truly
Oh,
flew by.
well, you guys, and no, I mean, I'm not promoting, but
No,
go
promote
on.
whatever you want to
No,
promote. Do it.
go on. I'm just gonna say, if you want just like some fun, inspiring, just go on Max and watch some old Wonder Woman. I'm telling you, you'll put on your own metaphorical bracelets and block the bullets that are thrown at your way. So I highly
Yes.
recommend.
Yes. And then tell people your podcast.
Oh yeah, that I meant like I'm promoting one. I forgot about me. Reality Gaze, where we talk about a lot of shows about people and relationships, but Reality Gaze with Maddie and Poodle, and we talk about obviously Love is Blind, but we also, or I'm sorry, 90 Day Fiance, but Love is Blind is dropping the new season in a couple of weeks. So we talk about that's a big show for us. Love is Blind. We have a show, Love After Lockup. We're gonna talk about in March. We'll be covering Seeking Sister Wife, which is a lot of TLC shows, and
Do you
some of
watch
them are cringe.
Traders?
We do. We don't cover it, but
But you're watching
Jake
it?
really watches it. I've watched. I go in and out of it. This season apparently is fantastic. He's obsessed with Pistol Pete or somebody.
Well, oh yeah, he's great. But season one was that's where I fell in love. I never watched Below Deck ever, but
Ah,
Kate from Below Deck is on
he
season one.
loves Kate Chastain.
Kate
Loves her.
Chastain is amazing. I
She's
was
a
like,
badass.
this
We
is
covered
me.
below. We did Below Deck for a couple of seasons, but after she had already left. We don't do a lot of
Mm,
Bravo just because my really good friends, they do Bravo. Two
mm.
guys named Ben and Ronnie have a show called Watch What Crappens. And if you love Bravo recaps, they're like housewives and all that.
I
They're
dabble. I
fantastic.
dabble in reality. Like sometimes I can get into it, and other times I'm like, this is
To
giving
be
me a
honest,
really
I
bad
never
headache.
watched a lot of reality TV before and I hated it.
Yeah.
And that's and I watch Real Housewives of Salt Lake, but I don't watch any really other reality shows. Now,
Hmm.
Project Runway, that's like a competition or drag race, that's different.
Yeah, that's different.
But I do love I love watching Love is Blind and even 90 Day Fiance, like going through my own like journey of codependency and seeing these people that are what I love kind of about these shows is they're exaggerated versions of how
Hmm.
we are when we're dating. And sometimes, you know how the universe, Abraham Hicks talks about like a universe, it
Yeah.
taps you, it whispers, and
Yeah.
eventually it just, if you don't listen to the message,
Kind
it
of punch you in the
screams at
face.
you
Yeah.
and punches you in the face. Sometimes watching these people, a lot of times these people on reality shows are getting punched in the face by the universe in
Yeah.
the way they deal with love. And it actually sometimes helps me in my own relationships. Oh, I do that, but not on as big as level. So it helps me
Hmm.
have some introspection and actually learn from myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Seeing relation, I mean, that's how I felt when I watched Sex in the City. I would see
Yeah.
the way Carrie Bradshaw would act. And I'm like, oh my God, I've done that before and I'm going to throw up. I'm never doing that again. I look so fucking stupid.
Yeah. You're like, I've done that. And you go, wow. And so it just did. Yeah. Been a lot of people didn't like that first season, but it was right after I was dealing with the grief of my dad and the ending of my relationship. So that first season of the reboot,
Mhm.
actually really spoke to me because I felt so carried just dealing with the grief and how do you move
Mm.
on with that. It was really a great season for me.
I mean, well, before you go, let me ask you how did you? What's one thing that really helped you during your grieving process?
Well, therapy helped a lot.
Yeah.
And besides I talked a lot about like what television shows I would watch during that, but it really I think I'm in this journey of rediscovering my friend Dawn McCoy. She's an influencer and she's done some kind of podcast stuff, but she's a very inspiring person. Her Instagram's I am Dawn McCoy, and we're really good friends. We met years ago walking our dogs.
I love that.
And she though said, she said, I really think that one of the lessons in life is that we're just trying to get back to that childhood self between the ages of like 5 to 8 years old,
Mm.
where we just knew where there was no apprehension to play, there was no apprehension to imagine that you would be in, she said, when you're like at a restaurant and you see a kid who's 6 years old who's just dancing in the middle of the
Yeah.
restaurant and not aware of what they're in that moment. And she said, I really feel like our journey of adulthood is to reconnect with that child.
Mhm. I agree.
And I agree as well. And so for me, I got a degree in music, a degree in opera, and studied classical music. And I thought I was going to do that, but really, I was good at music. But just because I was good at something wasn't what I was meant to do as a career.
Mm.
It what that did, I think the universe or God or whatever, but for me, the universe gave me that gift of being able to sing to get me out of Oklahoma, to get
Yeah.
me out. It's what got me out of all that. And I don't know if I hadn't had that, I probably would still be there and not probably happy. And through that journey of getting me out of I thought, oh, I'm done. I'm not a musician. But in grief, I didn't recognize the power of music
Yeah.
to pull. And so I've started just going to concerts even by myself and just reckon. I mean, it was really, truly I'm a big country person. So Casey
Mhm.
Musgraves had a breakup album at the same time
So
of her
good.
divorce, Star-Crossed.
Mhm.
That album just played on repeat. And then it was the Chicks. They
Mhm.
had their latest album, Gaslighter.
Mhm.
That one hit a little too close to home, but it was that album really got me through, and it was just a lot of like that Miley Cyrus song, I Can Buy Myself Flowers. Like a lot
Mhm.
of I love Taylor. I'm not a Swiftie though, but like that but I will say like Beyonce's Renaissance album really
Mhm.
kind of carried me through. And at the same time, Shania Twain. I'm a very big Shania Twain fan. And she came up with it was weird how like, there's a whole other podcast about Shania Twain and my obsession with her in high school and how that led me on a different path.
Yeah.
But she had an album, Queen of Me, and it'd been like 5 years since she came out with an album, but she released it that year. And there was just this idea of I'm the queen of me and a lot of her
Mm.
music. So it really was music that it was comedy, like I talked about before, a bit of wonder, but it was really, when you're grieving, you go through a part where you want to be sad, but then you want to go through that where you want to again summon yourself, be uplifted.
Mhm.
And it was through music where I found that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because in times I've been so deeply hurt, I couldn't even listen to music because I knew it was going to make me feel something.
Mm.
And then when I finally
Mhm.
felt it, it was just like, whew, thank
So
God I got that out.
what do you do when you're in those? Because I think that's such a beautiful way to when you're in that space where you don't want to feel. What would you watch or listen to friends, or would you listen to, or how would you kind of get in that safe space?
I mean, it was mostly watching Friends and Gilmore Girls, honestly, like
Hmm.
watching it and just escaping my own world
Hmm.
and finding the humor in all of it instead of being sad. And it was one of those things where when I first heard a song, like somebody made me listen to a song and I had to walk out of the room and I was sobbing hysterically. And because
Mm.
it was like all these feelings that I was avoiding so much that I just didn't want to deal with.
Hmm.
But one of my old therapists would always say, you got to feel it to heal it. So
Oh, I say that. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
I'd learned that there. You have to.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
have to
yeah.
feel it. So it's a very
Yeah.
therapist
And
expression.
then it was like, then after that period, it was Christina Aguilera's Stripped album. That
Ah,
album
that's a good one.
that got me through some very dark times. And it's still a go to. I always go back to that album, like when I need to find some strength and find,
Yeah.
like, let out some anger, because there's
Mm-hmm.
Fighter, there's, Makeover, which I freaking love that song. Keep on
That's a
Singing My
great song.
Song. Like, there's so many
There's
gems
so
on that
many.
album. Beautiful's on that album. The Voice Within. Like, come
Wow, I
on.
forgot what an inspirational album.
Yeah, that
Wow.
album is definitely that's one of those for me where I'm like, there's no skips on that album.
No, all the
No
way.
skips.
All
All
the
the way through.
way. All the way. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Art is healing. Art is healing. And
Music
then
is what brought us together.
I know.
Yeah.
It's
Um,
amazing. And
it is amazing.
hopefully we'll be working on set again together.
You know what?
Together.
Again, I like that word.
Am
It's
I
interesting. When you
okay?
said it, I went, wait a minute. Am I gonna be on a sitcom and have bloopers with Brittany?
Well, there's your first one, babe.
Get
Together.
together.
Jesus. Oh my God.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Oh my God. Okay. I love you so
I
much.
love you too. Thank you for having me on
We're
the
getting
show.
together. Thank you for being on here. And yeah, our sitcom blooper reel is going to be amazing.
Fire.
And one day somebody's going to watch that and be like, what gets you through? And they're going to be like, Brittany and Matt's blooper reel.
Manifest.
Manifest that shit. Okay. I love you so much. Thank you.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.